The game industry is filled with a lot of sadness sometimes. Most of the time it has to do with a company shutting down. Disney Interactive, THQ, Acclaim, and others spring to mind. But one that hurt for a lot of people was Telltale Games. Telltale Games was a very unique studio that made very unique games. Picture this, you're playing a game and a character does something and you go, well, I wouldn't have done that, or I don't think that character would have done that. Well, that's what Telltale was meant to tap into. However, unfortunately, Telltale hit a lot of bad luck and completely shut down right in the middle of The Walking Dead final season, which thankfully Skybound Games funded and finished. But after that, it was the end of Telltale and many people said their goodbyes. That was until 2019, where out of completely nowhere, where Telltale was being reborn with the announcement of The Wolf Among Us 2 and a game based off the Amazon Prime series, The Expanse. While Telltale Games is handling The Wolf Among Us 2, The Expanse was announced to be developed by Deck 9, the developers of the new Life is Strange games. Both of these projects wound up getting delayed, with Wolf Among Us 2 being pushed all the way into 2024, and The Expanse finally releasing on July 27th, where I of course followed every episode after that. And while we're here, I also want to give a big massive thank you to Telltale Games for the review code. With the review code, I managed to play the game twice. On PS5, I played it how I normally would, and Xbox Series X, which is the review code, I made different choices to see the outcome, and we're going to talk about that later. Before we get started on the game, I need to talk about something. Why is that, you may ask? Well, The Expanse released on PS4 and 5, Xbox One, and Series systems. However, most people like to play Telltale games on PC. After all, it is a point-and-click adventure game, so people are conditioned to play these games on a PC, and they put this game exclusively on the Epic Games Store. This is your grand return, and you're locking this game on a platform that not a single person wants to use? I've had people come up to me and tell me they refuse to buy the game because they don't want to go through Epic Games, and that's pretty bad concerning that Telltale is not that big of a publisher, especially since this is their grand return. I'm assuming Epic Games must have paid them a pretty good deal to make this a timed exclusive, but in my opinion, they should have straight up denied it. It's one thing when a game like Sonic Colors Ultimate came out exclusively for Epic Games Store, because most people play Sonic games on console, so therefore Sega's not taking a huge massive hit. But Telltale is already a niche publisher with only a few major fans who will go out of their way to go to Epic to play their game. The rest will just simply not go that route, and again will not go on console because they feel more comfortable on PC. And the kicker is that Wolf Among Us 2 is also going to be an exclusive as well. Telltale, if anyone there is watching this, please see if you can get out of this deal for your future games. Maybe you can't with a Wolf Among Us 2, it's likely too late. But please try to release your future games on Steam until maybe you've hit a peak again, and then maybe you can make some deals like this. But right now is not a good time for it. Not to mention the fact people could have found out you were alive again through the Steam store, their friends list, anything. Most PC players have sworn against Epic, and you can't be playing deals like this that's happening. Alright, rant over. Let's get started with the actual game. And because I'm sure a lot of people probably haven't even played the game yet, or probably waited to binge this game after all episodes have been released, I'm going to go over basic story first, then things about the general game, then I'll try to cover some choices without spoiling too much to give you an idea of what you're in for. And then we'll go over spoiler related things. And like with any Telltale game, it's best that you go in as blind as possible, so the minute any of this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and back out of the video and play it, and then come back here. Alright, let's get started from the top. The game stars Kamina Drummer, straight from the show, with her actor Kara Gee even reprising her role. She's the second in command, soon to be first in command of the ship called the Artemis, led by one Courtney Cox, who was once a bounty hunter meant to bring Drummer back to Anderson Dawes, which from what I can tell, Dawes is like the Megatron of The Expanse, where he wants everyone in control and under a government, while Kamina herself doesn't believe in that. Cox has been assuring the crew that they will find a huge treasure that will make their lives easier, and though he's been saying that a lot, he seems to think the one he's tracking is the real deal this time. I think you know where this is heading. From there we meet the crew, the piece of shit pilot Khan, the cook and medic Virgil. These two are brothers, I'm assuming, or at least brothers at heart, Arlen and Rael. And finally, Maya, and immediately it feels like they're promoting some lesbian vibes that I'm totally in for. They've got great chemistry. Maya always wanting to beat Drummer as much as she can, and she even does here, and it's entirely up to you how much you want this relationship to bloom. Get this right, so in episode 2, after a very strong moment between Drummer and Maya straight up just asks her to go to bed, and your explanation to swayed into not doing it is because the crew might find out? Oh gee, I don't really care. This ship is sailing into the stratosphere, and I am not talking about the Artemis. Okay, so anyway, I jumped a little ahead there. So the crew go on their mission to see what treasures lie on this abandoned ship, where we see a wonderful bobblehead show. Look at the detail. So much detail, it makes Maya get a little sick.
Now say puke in your soup, eh? That you won't choke to death on your own sick.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
And after finding a drive with data on it, Cox tells Drummer to check the fusion coupling, but gets distracted by a volcano erupting on a planet, and the rockets start going off. But Cox said something was wrong with it. Oh. So long story short, we throw Cox in an airlock where he begs us to throw him in the brig and he'll unload the treasure. And, well, I won't tell you what I did because that's spoilerish, so you're just gonna have to wait. So let's start with that first. The choices. And again, I'm gonna have to dance around some spoilers here because I'm trying not to spoil anything, but there's not that much to tell regardless. The Expanse doesn't have that many choices, first of all. There's not even a time limit for 90% of the choices, removing that sense of urgency you had in Telltale's previous games, losing my immersion. And even then, there's only 2 options for all the choices. I always think back to that one choice in Walking Dead Season 1 where you're inside the handiway. Is that what you call it, or is it just slang or something? Anyway, Lee and his group get caught in a convenience store, that's apparently what it's called, and meet another group where they're trying to kill Duck because he thinks he's been bitten. And Duck's dad, Kenny of course, is getting really mad. And as someone who tries to stay on both sides and tries to think rationally, I panicked trying to figure out what to say at that moment. It was not only the amount of options that made it stressful, but it was the time limit forcing me to say something. You don't get that in the Expanse, and not to mention the choices aren't very nerve-wracking either. So this game is bad then? Well, no, because I still really like the characters and dialogue, even if it was filled with a lot of cursing. And look, I get it, I like to give some shits every now and then, but some characters, mainly Khan, can enunciate and overuse them. Though, in fairness, I tend to watch a lot of media without cursing, so maybe this could be a me thing. I don't know. Anyway, despite that, I did grow to like these characters. Even Khan. If you go the right route with her, she'll become a little bearable. A little. Okay, I'm kind of playing a bit, but I actually grew to like how much of a bitch she was. And of course, I liked Maya, as I said before. Cox is a charismatic lying dipshit, but I didn't mind him. And Arlen and Rael were fine, though a little annoying, and I'll get to them later. Point is, characters are fun and cool, even if the choices do kind of suck eggs, so just kind of go with lower expectations. Try not to go in expecting the Walking Dead quality, which I guess you should kind of do already. I do want to say though, they did improve on a couple things even over The Walking Dead. First of all, when you are making choices, it shows the last bit of dialogue in case you missed it, which I would have appreciated in the Walking Dead games. Sometimes when you're playing these games with friends, sometimes you'll just stop paying attention and not realize it until it's time to make a big choice. Another thing I really like is the bigger choices. You have to hold down the X button for quite some time. There were moments during the Walking Dead games this would have absolutely killed me, because there were times I would not be able to even press the X button to make some of those choices, much less hold it down and commit to it. But now it's time to get into the gameplay, and the gameplay is something that's definitely been improved. In the older games, gameplay was basically non-existent a lot of the times. Even in The Walking Dead the final season, the game was either stiff combat or walk around and find stuff. And while the Expanse is still walking around and finding stuff, you can also float and find stuff. I love the way it controls, and it really makes you feel like an astronaut. And at some points, you can really lose where you are, but in a really cool way. Now let's talk presentation before we go into spoiler territory. I'm kind of split on it. I'm not a big fan of the art style. I prefer the way the other Telltale games have looked, you know, with that comic book style nature. But even putting that aside, it's a little weird, because on one hand, characters have really good skin detail, and on the other, Drummer, why does your head look like a melon? Cox looks kind of off too, but honestly, I kind of just like his giant ass head. Look at him. Animation wise, it can be a little bit of a hit or miss. About 80% of the animations look fine, while others just look emotionless and weird. And then other times, Maya looks like she's about to eat my face here. But a lot of the older Telltale games had this problem too, so I can't really get mad at them, though I do hope they try to improve themselves in the future when it comes to this regard. The score is really great as well. It's definitely a little limited as it's trying to emulate the show, you know, that dong when it cuts to black. Yeah, a lot of those, but it's good and it feels very unique in that regard. The only problem is that there aren't a ton of varied locations throughout the game as well. You kind of go through a lot of similar looking areas, and yeah, I'm aware you're in space, but still, it's just something to bring up. Just doesn't have a ton of visual variety. Just a lot of space and insides of spaceships, though space does look very pretty. What isn't pretty is some of the glitches I encountered. A couple of them were funny, like how I accidentally found this bit of ceiling with no collision, so I just drifted into the void. But a couple of other issues occurred, where when episode 2 came out, I couldn't access the next episode unless I pressed resume activity on PlayStation 5. Not the, episode 2 button. But a worse glitch was when I restarted episode 4 because I wasn't recording, and that proceeded to wipe my save data for episode 3 somehow. Episode 4 still played completely normally, but episode 5 didn't because I was very confused on why someone was alive who shouldn't have been. But now it's time to get into spoiler territory. Yep, let's get into the choices. And some of the story beats I want to talk about. Reminder, make sure to stop watching if you think you want to play The Expanse, because this will ruin your experience, because we're going to go into some hardcore spoilers now. And reminder, I did play the game twice with 2 different routes. We're going to use my PlayStation 5 playthrough of the game as a base, and we'll use the Xbox version to compare some choices. Though to be frank, there isn't a lot to compare. So first for PlayStation 5, I ejected out Cox. Good riddance, big head. Hope your head gets found out and studied. But not after I cut off Rael's leg. What? Don't give me that look. I felt like it was what was best for my crew. And see, he's fine. Nothing's wrong with him. But even if you do this, it doesn't change anything outside of one line of dialogue. The supplies don't come into play later in the game, and neither does Cox. The only difference you get with them is one piece of dialogue exchange and a cutscene you may miss if you don't make a certain choice. Most disappointingly, when Maya asked you to stay the night with her, I saw no difference. Listen, women get really cranky when you don't want to sleep with them. I know. Wait, no I don't. Well, why not have Maya act a little more passive-aggressive towards Drummer, you know? Like during the game you have a deep conversation about what you're gonna do after you sell the MK core and get enough money to live off of. And then Maya says she wants to be with her, which was a very nice moment. Really felt like this was leading into the relationship. However, if you don't sleep with her, you still get all of that. Like, sure, maybe Maya can still be with Drummer, you know, if you really just have to do that. But maybe let Maya blow off Drummer when talking about what she plans on doing, much like how Drummer blew off Maya. I just feel like that would be a more realistic reaction and would punish you and make the player feel bad for it. The only time I felt a choice really mattered was during episode 3, where after getting the MK core, Arlen tries to take over the ship. Rylan doesn't want to do this and feels bad and requests for you to trust him. I decided to trust him, thinking that would soften the situation. In response, Rylan takes you to the airlock and gives you a helmet so you can breathe. Seems well. Good on Rylan. But Maya starts to get upset and tries to come save you. In response, Arlen throws Maya in the airlock as well, but there's only one helmet and Maya persists you wear it, so she dies out in outer space, which was a really sad moment and led to her drifting off into space with a beautiful song playing. Very nice, I love it. However, what I would love more is to save Maya. So in order to do that, you instead don't trust Rylan and fight back against Arlen, and you throw them both in the brig. Well, you would, except Maya couldn't hold her own against Arlen. Really, Maya? Really? But luckily, Maya throws you a helmet and she stays on the Artemis, and after some tomfoolery to make you think she's dead, she actually isn't. You don't know how happy that made me. But that was the only time a choice, in my eyes, really mattered. Other than, I guess you can kill Rylan to avoid blowing your cover, but I of course didn't do that. There was also another thing that I didn't realize until after I had already written the script and recorded it. But in episode 5 as well, Virgil has a panic attack and you can kind of like help calm him down. When I initially did this, I kind of said the wrong things and didn't help him. But in my Xbox playthrough, I actually managed to calm him down, which helped him save Khan. Because if you don't help Virgil, then he can't help Khan. So Khan dies. So that was actually one thing. So maybe there's other choices that actually matter. I don't know.
Excellent, Doctor. I've saved hundreds of lives, and you may be the most infuriating of them all. But I'll save you too, damn it. Now sit down, or I'll tie you down.
Well, damn. I didn't think I could be any more turned on after killing those pirates.
With all that being said, the ending was pretty nice. I think the final bit is teasing when she's going to appear in the show chronologically, which happens after this game, which is pretty neat. That being said, it was a little on the short side, but I didn't really mind that. So, The Expanse. What are my honest thoughts? I did enjoy the game for what it was, and I feel like a lot of other people will too, especially if they're a fan of the show. Did it get me interested in the show? A little, but it's no Walking Dead, I'll say that much. That's what this game pretty much is. It's no Walking Dead. That's not a bad thing, but you know, this is the first game where Telltale is officially back, so my expectations were honestly a little bit higher. But I guess I didn't realize the circumstances and maybe shouldn't have had my expectations that high. I mean, after all, this game was being developed by Deck 9 in the first place, which no doubt has talent, but doesn't really match the talent of Telltale's previous work. Again, not dissing Deck 9. Deck 9 is good. I loved Life is Strange True Colors, a game I played for myself, and if I judge it that way, like if it had no involvement with Telltale and was just a Deck 9 game, then, you know, it's alright. I still prefer Life is Strange True Colors over it, but it's still good. But The Expanse is still just a pretty good game. And again, if you're interested in the TV show, I'm sure you'll enjoy it even more. Let me know if you did. Whether you've been playing it or gonna play it after this review, let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear it. I'm still very excited for the future of Telltale, as after all this is the first step. Soon we're going to be getting The Wolf Among Us 2, which looks incredible, at least visual-wise, and I'm excited to see how much these games get to be improved over not only the previous Telltale games, but the future Telltale games we'll be getting, and that goes for Deck 9 as well. I hope Deck 9 becomes a valuable asset for Telltale, as they are a talented studio and can easily learn from Telltale and become great partners with them. I can only hope that Telltale can rekindle the magic, and I'll be here for every game that comes out, as I am deeply invested in these games from both the past and the future. And I think a lot of you know what game I'll be looking at next. Yeah, after The Wolf Among Us, of course. Wow, I can't believe I made an entire video about a game with astronauts and didn't make a single Among Us. Dang it!